Hello everyone, hope you're all well. Welcome to session 1 of our new E-Racer Supreme series. My name is Rich. We usually start the live stream, well I come on the live stream about a minute or so before the start of the session, but I thought I'd just start a little bit early as it's the beginning of the series, just do a little bit extra of an introduction. To see we've got a few new people signed up for the live session, so basically guys, we've got a cracking series ahead for you. For those guys that are on the live Zoom feed, please feel free to ask questions at any point. Here to coach. I've got a few sort of nuggets of information, etc., that we always try and get across in the session. But yeah, welcome. As I said, my name is Rich. I'm the founder and head coach of RIAK Fitness. We're a cycling and triathlon coaching outfit, specialising in pretty much bespoke training programs. We've got various other services as well, which I will, I'm afraid, talk about a little bit just at the beginning. Got to do our customary plug. But yeah, triathlon and cycling coaching predominantly. So that's me. This series, E-Racer Supreme, as I say, it's a cracking series ahead. It's a challenging series, all in preparation for the start of the e-racing season, which in Europe tends to start around sort of October, November time, maybe a touch later depending on what the weather's like. But we've just got about 23 seconds before we get going. Don't stress, the start is pretty chilled. Got a 10-minute warm-up. Particularly for those that aren't familiar with these sessions, we always start with a 10-minute build at the beginning of a session. So we're starting off at around sort of 54% of FTP. So it should be pretty relaxed. So 3 seconds, 3, 2, 1. Here we go then, off we pop. So session 1 of our E-Racer Supreme series. You'll see me sort of pootling around well, a little bit harder than this, usually around 2 watts per kilo. So this E-Racer Supreme series, so we're preparing for the e-racing season, and e-racing is a really particular type of racing. It's quite unique in terms of, you've got this manic start where you're pretty much sprinting, and then it's just lots of explosive bursts. I was thinking about it, and really the only form of racing that's kind of akin to e-racing is cyclocross, and cyclocross is always that sprint to the first corner. So if you do either or both of those guys, they are complementary really in terms of preparation. But yeah, I think short explosive efforts is really what characterises e-racing, I would suggest, and so that's kind of what we'll be focusing on in this series. Obviously the goal is always to get fitter, always to try and lift that FTP, so there will be obviously that sort of work in there as well. But yeah, predominantly I think this session really sums up what the series is about really. Some of the sessions are context specific, so working on very specific things in terms of how it works in e-racing, but as I say, characterised generally by working on those anaerobic efforts. And we'll just be teaching you a little bit more about the energy systems, how these explosive efforts, how you train for them, how you improve them, kind of what's going on in your body as well. We'll talk a little bit about that today. But as you can kind of see from the session profile, the way it's broken up is kind of steady state efforts into an explosive burst. Looks like my RGT screen's just frozen. It should come back in a second. So yeah, that's kind of what the series is about. Working on those repeatable, short anaerobic efforts, exploding out of corners, racing to get back onto wheels, trying to make a break. Those sort of efforts, 20-30 seconds out of pop, and then trying to recover to go again. I feel we're going to have annoying tech issues. I'll just carry on. So just take some of you guys that are kind of frequent to these sessions, you might just notice I'm wearing a new kit. This is one of our partners, Sundry. They're our kit partners. I'd just like to do a quick shout out to our partners. So Sundry, you'll see an advert running above me. There is a code there for 30% off. Likewise, we've got codes for 80/20 coffee and a few others. Obviously don't expect you to necessarily remember them But just note that if you go to the RIAK online page on our website, you can get those codes. We're in for one of those days where this keeps freezing, aren't we? Wonderful. Hopefully it'll settle down. Don't want to mess around too much. So those are our partners. Just one last little plug, and that's just with regards to our on-demand service. So these series that we do on RGT, obviously we put them out there free. But what we actually do is we take these sessions and then we build training plans around them. So if you go to the on-demand page on our website, you'll see that we have previous series which we've run live sessions for. But then what we've done is we've built an entire training program around them using their focus as the guide. So what you'll find is training programs where each sort of week you'll have like a coaching for you to take you through the sessions. So that's probably enough plugging for one session. I think it's time to get down to business, and I'll just talk you through kind of what we've got on in this session. We're just into the third step of the warm-up. You'll note that each step power goes up by about 4%, so it's usually around 6 to 10 watts increase each time. In terms of cadence, guys, I'd like you to make sure your cadence is upwards of 85 RPM now. Okay, we want to start pedaling efficiently whilst we warm up. Get the fluids on board as well, depending on where you are in the world. You know, if you're training in the morning, always really important to prioritize getting the fluids on board. Likewise, if you've been in an air-conditioned office or what have you, or it's particularly warm where you are, might be quite dehydrated or underhydrated, shall we say. But yeah, just make sure you're keeping the fluids coming board as we go through the warm-up and through the session as well, I guess. But let's talk you through this session then, shall we? Let me get the session plan up. So we've got this 10-minute warm-up. We're ramping up every 2 minutes. You'll see that initial kind of couple of pillars after the warm-up. So what we've got there is a sweet spot effort for 1 minute. So that's 90% of FTP for 1 minute, followed by threshold, so FTP for 1 minute. And what I'd like you to do is we'll use those. So we use that as our fast pedaling effort. So normally in all our sessions after warm-up, we'll have a fast pedaling effort, have a couple of fast pedaling efforts, and maybe like a pre-main set. We're combining the two in this session. So for those that are new, fast pedaling efforts are pretty much what they say on the tin. So we're just going to get you spinning up your legs upwards of 100 RPM. The idea behind this is to just weight your legs up, get the fast twitch muscle fibers going, and just kind of lift your default cadence. Because particularly when you're cruising along like this, it's very easy to sit kind of at a slow, inefficient cadence. So that's what that effort is about. It's about kind of picking up your leg speed. And the way we're going to do it is, for the sweet spot effort, I'm going to encourage you to be above 100 RPM. And then for the threshold effort, I'm going to encourage you to be above 110 RPM. All right, I'll explain that as we go, don't worry. So yeah, that's what we've got first. Then we've got a nice 5-minute cruising section where we'll just talk a little bit about energy systems. For some of those regulars that come to our sessions, some of this might be overly familiar. But I think it's important that we all kind of understand what we're here for, what we're going to be doing, what we're going to be working, what's going to be going on in our body. I think it's really important. It's kind of our thing, if I'm honest, our USP as a business. You know, we like to think we're very good at getting people fit, but more important to us is making sure athletes know why they're doing stuff, because it just helps them kind of make sensible decisions, basically. So we've got that 5-minute cruising period after the fast pedaling efforts, and then basically we get into the meat of the session. Okay, so let's get the session plan back up. So what you've got really, first off, is 2 rounds of sweet spot for 3 minutes. That's 90% of FTP for 3 minutes, up to VO2 max, so zone 5 for those that like their training zones, or around 115% of FTP for 1 minute, and then 30 seconds where we're going anaerobic. All right, so you can kind of see what context that lends itself to. Very much e-racing type of context. So you know, you always with e-racing, because it's so short, it's not, I would say, where it differs from kind of crit racing and road racing is that in e-racing, like, it's so short, so it's just pretty much, it's pretty full on the entire time. Whereas in crit racing and road racing, when you're not kind of messing around trying to smash 10 bells out of each other, usually the power comes back down to like a tempo level, like a zone 3 level. Whereas in e-racing, it stays a fair bit higher throughout, so you might be pretty much around sweet spot, around 90% of FTP for as kind of like your baseline power, if that makes sense. Kind of like your average power, for want of a better phrase. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that characterizes e-racing. It's either kind of hard or very hard, and we want to teach you and teach your body to learn how to deal with that. So yeah, 3 minutes at sweet spot, just underneath your FTP, a minute above your FTP, and then 30 seconds pretty much full gas. You got 2 rounds of that. Then we're just going to break it up a little bit. So that third round, you'll see it's quite a lengthy tempo effort, around 80% of FTP, before we get back into the sweet spot V02 and anaerobic effort. And then we're back to that 4th round, a repeat of the 1st and 2nd. So hopefully that makes sense. I'll walk you through it as we go, of course. But just finishing off the whole session with some finishing sprints, essentially. So you've got 2 10-second efforts, which are basically full gas 10 seconds with 30 seconds in between. Just kind of like those it's when you're got the final few corners, you're accelerating out, and then the idea is that 3rd sprint is much harder and 15 seconds long, and that's your finishing sprint. So basically all these efforts are kind of synonymous with the type of effort that you do in an e-race. So here we go then, up to sweet spot. Let's spin those legs up. So remember what I was saying, 100 RPM at least for this first sweet spot effort. So staying here for another 45 seconds. Try and relax in the upper body, soften the elbows. So you try to avoid bouncing up and down on the saddle. Just about 35 seconds. And then we're going to take it up another notch, both in terms of power and in terms of cadence. So just hold steady, keeping that leg speed above 100 RPM, sorry. Should feel like a 7 out of 10 effort, 10 being a full-on sprint. Keep going, come out to the last 10 seconds. Nearly there. Okay, now pick it up one more. So we've got a minute here at threshold at your FTP, and I want that leg speed even higher, so if you can, upwards of 110 RPM on the cadence. That's good, guys, good. Keep it going. We've got 40 seconds here. This might feel arbitrarily high on the leg speed, but just go with it. It's all about lifting that default cadence, so hopefully when we get into the cruising section, your default cadence is just a little bit higher. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Nearly there. It's about 15 seconds to go, and then we'll relax a little bit. Last 2 seconds. Okay, good, and relax. Not too much. Try and keep your cadence above about 85 RPM. But we're back down at around 65% of FTP. So just spinning up the legs. So you might hopefully notice your legs will naturally turn over a bit quicker than perhaps they were during the warm-up. That's the idea behind the fast pedaling efforts and a sort of primer set like we were just doing. Okay, so we've got another 4.5 minutes of cruising before we get stuck back in. So use this as an opportunity to get the fluids on board and just sort of relax a little bit. So just going to talk to you a little bit about kind of what's going on in your body when you've got these sort of anaerobic efforts that we're going to be doing quite a lot of in this series. Let's get to the right page. So this is a training zones chart. This actually is available from our website, and it's a really good kind of reference to have. You'll find this in the training resources area on our website. So you can kind of see here what we're going to be mostly focusing on in this series is at zone 5 and above. That doesn't mean like every single effort, as you can see, it's not every single effort is above this zone 5 and above. It just means that's the type of work that we're going to be focusing on. Okay, and so if you've done any of our series before where we've done largely threshold work, you might find these sessions are, you know, a little bit more dynamic, shall we say. I'm not sure you'd say they're harder or not, because we've purposely made it a progressive series, so we step up with each session. But yeah, you might just find that this hits you in an area where you might not be used to training if your training is largely threshold focused. So you'll see all zone 5 and up, you're talking 106% of FTP and beyond. So zone 5, that VO2 max area, is a solid 9 out of 10 effort. And then zone 6 is full gas. It's basically a long sprint, anything between 30 seconds and 3 minutes seems that is a bit long, but technically utilising what's called your lactic acid system. Okay, it's good for a maximum of 3 minutes, but really you're talking kind of around 30 seconds to 1-2 minutes max, full effort. For instance, if anyone was watching the Vuelta a España yesterday, I won't give away the result, but Primoz Roglic at one particular moment was very much working this area, and if anyone that saw it will know what I mean. Before something happened, shall we say. I doubt anyone really cares, but and then you've got zone 7, which is kind of 150% of FTP and above, and that is just max level sprinting. So that's what we'll be hitting with those 3 final sprints at the very end of the session, and that's what we call neuromuscular power, utilising what we call your phosphocreatine system, which is basically what powerlifters use. It's good for a maximum of 30 seconds. And it's just pure explosive activity. So zone 5 and above, if you're familiar with your training zones, again, this chart is available on our website. Just wait, my RGT screen is just frozen again, just waiting for that to unfreeze before I flip over back to the main screen. Just wait a second, there we go. Okay, so back to the main screen, we've got just over a minute to go. Hopefully still cruising. Should feel like a 4 out of 10 effort. This is the sort of level that you would look to hold if you're out on a long weekend ride. Around 65% of FTP, nice and chilled. But getting ready, let's start getting focused, because we are straight into the hard work after this. Straight into that sweet spot segment. Building up through VO2, up through zone 5. Up to that anaerobic effort at the end. So yeah, let's strap ourselves in, let's get ready to go. Let's start getting focused, let's get pumped. We've got some hard work coming our way. Starting off with that sweet spot effort, which, as I said earlier, is around a 7 out of 10 effort, or 90% of FTP. Sweet spot isn't a scientific term, it's kind of a colloquial one, which it's basically just an effort that's just underneath threshold, where you get a lot of the benefits of working at your threshold without the physiological demands. So here we go. So let's lift that power up to around 90% of FTP. We're here for 3 minutes. I want that cadence to be upwards of 90 RPM. And then once you got there, try and relax. Okay, so soften the elbows, draw your shoulders away from the ears. This is very much a time trialing effort, and this is perhaps the sort of effort that you would hold to stay in a group, in between kind of attacks, in between chasing wheels. It's the sort of effort that you would be sitting at or around. Okay, so we want to get familiar with this type of effort. Sub-threshold, 7 out of 10, 90% of FTP. For another 2 and a bit minutes. Nice and settled, nice and relaxed, as best you can. So one of the reasons, and you'll hear me say it pretty much every session multiple times, I will tell you to relax in the upper body. The reason I'm going to be saying this is because if you're relaxing the upper body, it's going to keep your bum planted on the saddle. Conversely, if your arms are locked out, I'm exaggerating of course, but you'll start to bounce up and down, and every kind of bounce is wasted power. Okay, so stay relaxed in the upper body and you'll be able to get more power through the pedals as a result. Right, approaching halfway through this first round of Sweet Spot. Just keeping it nice and steady. Hard work is to come. Okay, so got just under a minute to go at Sweet Spot. When we crank it up, guys, we can go up to, so kind of V02 max power up to 115% of FTP. Take your cadence up with it, okay? Particularly if you're on a smart trainer or smart bike and you're running this in erg mode, when that power feeds in, it's going to want to drag your cadence down. But let's not let it. Let's increase our cadence, be as efficient as possible, and really rev our way through the next kind of 2 minutes. If you're on the live session, please do give me a wave as you go past. My handle on RGT is RIAK in the RIAK kit. Do give us a wave as you go past. Okay, 10 seconds. Let's start revving up the legs. So just add a few extra RPM onto the cadence. Let's get ready for that power. Ready? Up to 115% of FTP. Here we go. Right, let's lift it. We're here for a minute. So get up to power and then try to relax as best you can. This will feel like a 9 out of 10, a very hard effort. Okay, halfway, keep it going. Nice high leg speed, probably closer to 100 RPM if not above. Really revving it up. Ten seconds, come on guys. Get ready to lift it one last time, ready? Few RPM on the leg speed. This is pretty much full gas, 140% of FTP. Let's go, come on, 30 seconds. Imagine you're in a race. Imagine someone's trying to make a break for it. You got to chase their wheel down. They're not going to let up until you've reeled them back in. So get into race mode. Let's not get away. Sorry, let's not let them get away. That's good. See some of you guys absolutely flying past. Last few seconds. 3, 2, 1. Good, and relax. Good. So just spin up. Quick swig of water or fluids. You've not got long to recover, which is exactly how it is in a race. Obviously, we're giving nice kind of rational recovery intervals, but in a race you don't get that luxury, do you? So we're not giving you too much recovery. Just a minute and a half, then we go again. We get through this round and you will get more recovery. Okay, so just focus on getting this one, and the session's broken up with that tempo segment before the next round. So nice and chilled, just focusing on getting your breath back and lifting your cadence again back above about 80 RPM. Okay, just 20 seconds of pure recovery left, and then we lift it back up to sweet spot. So try not to lose focus, bring your mind back to the job in hand. You've got one more round, and then you've got an extended period of kind of recovery. Ready? Okay, pick it back up then, back up to 90% of FTP, back up to a cadence of 90 RPM and above. And then once you're up to power, up to leg speed, up correct leg speed, just relax again. Back into sort of time trial mode. Just imagine, you know, someone's driving on the front and you're sort of tucked in behind them. Hopefully they're nice and big. They've got a really big bum so you can just sort of shelter in behind them. But just imagine they're driving it on, or at least your avatar is it. Anyway, so your goal is to keep it steady. Try not to make any excess accelerations. Nice and steady, just conserving energy as best you can. If you want, if you do a bit of triathlon or racing outside, getting down onto the drops, it's always good to try and build a little bit of stamina in your lower back. As I say, relaxing the upper body, just tap out a nice rhythm. That's good, guys. Keep it steady. Approaching halfway through this sweet spot segment. Keep it calm, guys. Stay focused. Stay on it. 90 RPM and above. Don't allow that leg speed to drop. 1 minute to go. Then we kick off for the second round. Nearly there, guys, nearly there. Just coming up to around 2 minutes of hard work, and then you get a rest. Okay, let's get revved up then, guys, come on. Just around 10 seconds, so pick up the leg speed. Just throw a few extra RPM on there. Get ready for that power. Go back up to zone 5's VO2 max power. 115% of FTP. Here we go, okay. So you've reeled in one person. Someone else has gone now. And you're not letting anything go because you're backing yourself in the final sprint. You're not letting anyone get away. You need to show them who's boss. Nice high leg speed. Don't get kind of suckered into pushing a big heavy gear. Keep it nice and high. Halfway. Okay, approaching the last 10 seconds, so if you can, just try and lift that cadence a little bit extra. So when it comes to that long anaerobic effort, you're not sprinting off a low cadence. Here we go, 30 seconds, come on guys. 140% of FTP, zone 6, anaerobic capacity. Just smashing it, guys, come on. 20. 10. Come on, guys, drive it all the way to the end. Come on, push, 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 push. 3, 2, 1. Good, good. And relax, and relax. So you've got 2 minutes of pure recovery, so slightly longer full recovery period. Then we're into that tempo riding, but just relax, guys. Get your breath back. So hopefully for those guys that have done a bit of e-racing before, you'll agree that those types of efforts are pretty reflective of what you got to do in a race. Okay, and then if you're lucky, you might get a long period like we're about to come to, where you are riding at a slightly easier effort. It'd probably be more around sweet spot. We're going to ride at tempo just because don't want to destroy anyone in their first session. So, if you're not familiar with this terminology, guys, just come back to the training zones chart. So, if you're not familiar with this terminology, guys, so what we've worked there is that sweet spot, which is kind of just below zone 4, on the cusp of zone 4, of zone 3 and zone 4. Okay. We then worked with VO2 max, which, by the way, is the maximum volume of oxygen you can take in at any one point and utilise. That's your zone 5. Then we did that anaerobic effort, the anaerobic capacity effort, which is zone 6. Anaerobic capacity, if you're interested, is just basically, the reason we call it that is when we test for it, we're basically testing for the maximum possible amount of work you can do in an anaerobic state. That's why you've got such a broad spectrum of 30 seconds to 3 minutes in terms of how long you can sustain an anaerobic effort, a purely anaerobic effort. Because basically, guys, your lactate threshold in zone 4, your FTP, the same thing. They're a tipping point where you start to work more and more in the absence of oxygen. Your VO2 max is like another tipping point. As we're just going up to tempo now, so up to 80% of FTP. So bring your cadence back up above 85 RPM. Yeah, so your VO2 max is a second tipping point at which you go beyond your VO2 max. You're working pretty much completely anaerobically and getting into that zone 6 area. Okay, where we're now though, where we've now gone down to is zone 3, a tempo level. So you'll hear when you're watching, if you watch any cycling, particularly when they're in long climbs, you'll hear them say like, oh, this is a tempo climb, or he's just riding tempo on the front or something like that. And basically what they're talking about is this sort of effort that we're at now. Sort of a strong but not hard effort, something they can sustain for a long time but isn't completely chilled. You're talking sort of somewhere between about 76 to, you know, that kind of 90 RPM, 90% of FTP, that sweet spot area. It's basically a sub-threshold effort. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah, that's where we're up to now. Just riding along in zone 3. So it should feel strong, but you shouldn't be kind of turning yourself inside out. It should feel somewhere in the region of a 5 or a 6 out of 10 effort. Okay, and then as per usual, just remind yourself to relax in the upper body and just get into tapping out rhythm. So this is a 5-minute effort. Now I've got 3.5 minutes left of it, and then it's repeat as we've done before basically. Okay, so repeat as before, so another 3 minutes at tempo, then 3 at sweet spot, 1 at VO2, 30 seconds at anaerobic. So hopefully you're just, I don't expect anyone to remember all this stuff that we talked about, particularly if you're new to these sessions, but this is sort of language that you'll come familiar with and hopefully pick up on as we go through the series. And you might just have heard some of these terms before and not really known kind of what they mean. If you forget anything or want to refresh, there is actually a jargon buster on our website in the training resources area where the training zones chart is, and you can just use that to kind of refresh your memory or clarify anything. But then of course, guys, for those on the Zoom feed, you're always very welcome to ask any questions at any point. And if anyone thinks of something after the session, again, we really like people sending in their questions, because if it's particularly good, we'll use it as content for the next session. Always feel free to ask any questions, guys. Send us a message on social media, or you can email us info@RIAK.fitness. But yeah, we love your questions, mainly because it breaks up our day-to-day and also shows that people care, which is quite motivating. We'll ask questions. It shows that they want to learn. As I said earlier, that's what we're all about. Good opportunity to get birds on board, guys, before we get stuck into the last 2 rounds. As I said, often in races you might get a transition period where kind of things just calm down a little bit, everyone's a bit knackered and they just want to recover a little bit, and it's sort of like an encore. In e-racing it rarely gets down to this level, but you might be lucky, you're usually to a slightly higher level. But in crit racing and road racing, this is kind of your baseline, whereas in e-racing it's usually around sweet spot. Okay, so let's get refocused, guys. We've got the 3rd and penultimate round of these mixed efforts, so let's get our head switched on again. Make sure your cadence is up above 85 RPM, pedaling nice and efficiently, and you're nice and relaxed. Okay, 10 seconds in. So just rev the legs up a little bit more. Let's get ready. So we're going up to sweet spot again for 3 minutes. Back up to 90% of FTP. Here we go. Back up to that cusp between zone 3 and zone 4. Okay, once you're up to power and up to leg speed, 90% of FTP, 90 RPM and above. Another reminder to relax. It's not something you do habitually, you've got to keep reminding yourself. And anything you can do to save a little bit of energy by being efficient, it will help you get through sessions a little bit easier. Approaching the first minute down at sweet spot. So these final couple of rounds where it's really important to stay focused, try not to allow your mind to drift, keep that leg speed nice and high. This is where you're going to start to, if you're not already, start to get fatigued. You need to battle against that by keeping your leg speed up, okay? Okay, staying on it. Approaching the final minute at sweet spot in this penultimate round of mixed efforts. 60 seconds, can't stay with it. Okay, 30 seconds. Let's get pumped again, okay? You've got a couple of hard efforts coming your way. Let's pick yourself up. Start getting reared up. Come on, 20 seconds. Pick up the leg speed a little bit. Okay, a few seconds. Come on, guys. Let's do this. Penultimate round. Here we go, come on, up to V02 max, 115% of FTP, into that zone 5 area. Do a lot of these efforts in e-racing. Usually when you're kind of going up a punchy little climb, or if you're chasing someone down and they've broken the string and you just trying to say, for instance, you see where I am at the moment, try and chase the guy ahead of me down. This is sort of the effort that you'd sustain to try and reel him in, or her. Can't see if it's a male or female. Okay, 15 seconds. Let's get ready to finish it off. 10. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's punch it, guys. Come on. 140% of FTP. We're going anaerobic. Zone 6. Come on, push, 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 push. You're over halfway. Just coming up to 10 seconds left. Don't allow that leg speed to slow down. Keep turning over quickly. 3, 2, 1. Good, 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 and relax. Well done. Okay. So that is the penultimate round done. Just got one more round. Okay. And then those little sprints at the end. You'll barely notice them, guys. I know obviously they'll be hard, but you're using a different energy system. Okay, so those legs will be there. So just focus on this next round. Don't worry about what's come afterwards. All right. So as I said earlier, when you're in zone 6, where we top out in these mixed rounds, using your lactic acid system, when you're doing a 10-15 second sprint, you're using a totally different source of energy. It's much more finite, but if you haven't ducked into it earlier, you'll have that. So it's like even when you do if you did a marathon, you've always got that last sprint down the finish line. You know, that's dipping into a different metabolic system than you would have been using earlier. And that's why you've got that extra juice left at the end, basically. Anyway, probably not interested in taking in the information right now. You're probably just like, I want to get to the end. So let's get ready for the final round of these mixed efforts. We're going up to Sweetspot for one last time. Pick up the leg speed. Let's get ready for it. Here we go. All right. So up to 90% of FTP, 90 RPM and above again. Let's finish off strong. This is where it really matters how efficient you've been previously. If you've kind of allowed your leg speed to and your power to peak and trough a lot, this is where you might start to pay for it. That's not to kind of rub salt in the wound. It's just for an FYI for next session. Just really make sure you're keeping your leg speed nice and high, nice and efficient. At least above 80 RPM at the very lowest. 90 and above for now. Approaching the end of the first minute, and relax. Soften the elbows, plant the bum on the saddle, let the legs do the talking. Okay, coming up to halfway through sweet spot. You're so close to the end of the session, guys. Stay with it, you're nearly there. Riding nice and strong, just coming up to around 1 minute to go. Okay, 30 seconds left at sweet spot. You've just got 2 minutes left of this Let's push this final round of mixed efforts. Stay on it, you've not got long to go. Ten seconds, let's get ready to pick it back up to VO2 for the final time. So increase the leg speed, pick up the cadence, get ready for that power to feed in, getting ready to drop the hammer. Here we go. Okay, 115% of FTP. You want that leg speed up to 100 RPM if not above. And just really smash it now, guys. Come on, you're so close to the finish. Don't let up now. That's halfway. Big push. Come on. 30 seconds left at VO2. Right, let's get ready. So imagine we're going for a big attack. We've already got everyone into the hurt locker. We've already put them under stress. Let's turn the screw in 5 seconds. Get ready for it. Okay, let's push on. Come on. 30 seconds. Fully anaerobic. Let's push it on. 20. Last 10, all the way to the end. Come on, don't let up now. 3, 2, 1. And relax, well done. Well done, guys. Just chill out. Can imagine that last round, pretty brutal. Don't worry about it. You're gonna have some extra juice. You're shifting into that phosphocreatine system for these sprints. Just relax now, just go over a minute. So the way they're going to work is you've got 2 kind of sort of surges, just 10 seconds with 30 seconds in between, and then the third one, max level full gas sprint. Okay, in other sessions we would say if you've got erg mode on, turn it off, but we're just going to keep it nice and simple for this one. Okay, so just follow the targets as is. Let's finish off strong, guys. Okay, it's about 30 seconds to go, so let's pick up the leg speed again, just so that we're not sprinting off a standing start, or, kind of. So pick up the leg speed, get it back above about 85. So you're in the final throes of the session, guys, so you're in the final throes of a race, imagine. You got 2 surges, and then a finishing sprint coming up. Let's get ready for it. Okay, rev up the legs, get the leg speed going now. Get ready to go for it. Ready? It's just 10 seconds, come on. Big 10 seconds, push, 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 push. So imagine you're exploding out of a corner. You got someone on your wheel, you're trying to break the elastic. Okay, you haven't got rid of them. You've got one more. So imagine we're racing into another corner, and then when you get there, you're going to explode out of it. Give them nothing to chew on. They'll look up, and it'll be a blur. It's a 10 seconds cruising. Ready for it? Okay, pick up the leg speed again. Ready for power to feed in. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Come on. Penultimate surge. Drive it, drive it, drive it, drive it. Nice high leg speed. 3, 2, 1. Good, okay. Right then. Just one last effort, and this time the power is going to be even higher. It's just 15 seconds full gas finishing sprint. So imagine we're being fed into the final straight, and we're just going to burn them straight off our wheel, okay? Imagine you're into like the last sort of 200 meters or so, maybe a bit further. Okay, get ready, rev up the legs. Last effort of the session. Here we go, come on. 15 seconds. Everything you got, empty the tank. Push, 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 push. Keep it going all the way to the end. Last few seconds. 5, 4, don't give up. 3, 2, 1, and relax. Well done. Well done, guys. Just spin up. You're done. Really well done, guys. So just get your breath back and relax. Enjoy a nice cool down. So particularly in these sessions, guys, always try to take the cool down. We usually give you about 3 to 5 minutes. Ideally it'd be longer, but nobody would stay for that, would they? Yeah, just to help flush out some of the lactate in your muscles. Just give you a moment of calm before you get off the bike. But guys, really well done. Thanks so much for your company for this session. So that's session 1 of RIAK E-Racer Supreme series. We're same time next week for session 2. But as you'll see from this session, that's a really good example of the types of efforts that you'll do in an e-race, and also the types of efforts that we'll be doing in this series, with obviously a fair bit of variety and some context specific sessions. But yeah, hopefully you really enjoyed that, guys. Certainly I think when you do sessions like that it goes faster, or maybe not, I don't know, you might disagree with that. But yeah, as always guys, if anyone's got any questions, I'll stick around for a few minutes at the end. Otherwise, always feel free to drop us a message on social media, or you can email us info@riak.fitness. But yeah, just final shout out for our partners. You can see this is the sun-dry Peloton men's jersey. You'll see the discount code for this and various other stuff above me, but you'll also find it on the RIAK online page. So give it a check out. And you'll also see various adverts above us for our on-demand content. And you'll see there just some strength. We've got on-demand strength videos. Super important for all endurance athletes. But yeah, last minute, just spinning out the legs, just chilling out, guys, getting the fluids back on board. Make sure you have a nice stretch after this. Again, we've got stretch routines in the training and resources area on our website. And get yourself a nice high protein meal on after this to repair some of that muscle damage you will have done. There we go. So just bringing it up to the end, last 30 seconds or so, just chilling out. Yeah, really well done, guys. So if anyone that's interested who likes their kind of numbers and their data, that's around, should be around 64 TSS. That's a training stress score. It's a quantification of the load that you will have experienced or thereabouts. And that's where we're starting. And we'll be lifting it with each session as we go through this 12-week series. But there you go, guys, that's your lot. As I say, I'll stick around for anyone that's got any questions. But otherwise, guys, thanks so much for your company. Cheers, thanks very much for your company, guys, appreciate it. Hopefully you got through that okay. Well, there you go. So I'm just going to stop the live stream, but if anyone on Zoom's got any questions,